We ran across a fascinating article this week by Alan Richards called Why Japan's Rail Workers Can't Stop Pointing at Things.
And they do.
And they do.
A lot.
A
Yes.
lot. And if you've ever been to Japan or watched any movies that take place in Japan, you might have seen these white-gloved employees in train stations, you know, pointing down the platform and calling out, sometimes seemingly to no one, just like that, as trains move in and out of the station. And on board, as we saw in that picture, it's much the same, says Richards, with drivers and conductors performing almost ritual-like movements as they review their dials and buttons and screens.
It's almost like train Tai Chi.
It's like train Tai Chi, exactly, which is Chinese, not Japanese. But
get the point.
But I mean, get the point, right? Now, you got to keep in mind, Japan's rail system moves an estimated 12 billion passengers each year with an on-time performance that's measured in seconds. And part of what makes trains run so smoothly and mostly without incident is something called Shisa Kanko. And according to Japan's National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, this involves pointing and calling, and it works on the principle of associating your tasks with physical movements like pointing and vocalizations to prevent errors by raising the consciousness levels of workers. And, you know, as Richards points out, to Westerners, all this pointing and shouting seems a little bit silly, but it has reduced workplace errors by up to 85%.
Wow.
So it may look silly, but it's not so silly. Now we have a video clip here of what that might look like if you've never seen it. So we can just run that clip. So you're going to see, okay, you see the station master. He's pointing down. He's actually checking the track as he's pointing down because there's an incoming train. So the fact that he points down the track and looks is his reminder of what he's supposed to be doing in that job, which is making sure that this train is clear to come in. So you get the idea, and there's actually some. If you go to that article, there's actually some other video clips in there. There's actually one of a station guy pointing at a button on the wall, speaking out, pushing the button, speaking out, pointing out at the button again, probably to acknowledge that yes, I have pushed this button, and then going back into the train. So every motion is pointed to and announced. Now, if you think about what's going on here, in this case, this guy points down the track and he speaks. And in the other case, he points at a button, he speaks, you know, he points down the track, he speaks, and so forth. So any other worker or passenger in the area would immediately know what's going on, even if they weren't looking, okay, they would hear it if they didn't actually see the operation. But also, and this is the critical bit, it's drawing the operator's attention to himself, to what he is doing. I pointed the button. I see the button, I push the button, I point at the button again I just pushed, and I say what I just did. With every gesture and vocalization, I am both reinforcing and reminding myself of what I did, or maybe what I should have done. Now, if you think about this, a lot of times, you know, how many times have you thought, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to do this thing, and then after the fact you say, oh, I'm sure I did it. But all you did was think about it.
Right.
By the fact that you think about it and then you point it and say, this is reinforcing that, no, this isn't just something I thought about doing, this is something I actually did, or hopefully did, because now I'm kind of reminding myself. It gets the instruction of the warning out of my head and it connects it to the real world. I point at it and I say something about it. Now I used to do this, actually I didn't even really realize I was doing this. I rode a motorcycle for a long time. Year in, year out, 365 days a year, rain or shine. And anybody who rides a motorcycle will tell you you're invisible. And you have to assume that nobody can see you because they can't, okay? So one of my little tricks is when I be, let's say, riding through town, like downtown Chico or something, you're always worried about people opening doors in front of you. You know, they don't see you coming, they go to get out of the car and open their door right in front of you. So as I would be driving down the street, if I saw somebody near a car or near an intersection, maybe they're gonna walk out in front of me, I would just point my finger at them. Not, you know, really visible, it's more for my benefit. Right. I point my finger and go, there's a person there. Oh, there's a person there. oh, this person might be getting ready to cross the street, right? And the very fact of me just pointing to it and mumbling to myself, hey, watch out for that guy, was really a reinforcement for me to don't just be aware of it, actually acknowledge it by pointing it. And it's really an effective little trick. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, and it's very much a psychological little trick.
It is.
Because, we all think that, as you mentioned, that when you think about doing something and you say, oh, I'm going to do that, you do it, but you don't always. Many times you forget to do whatever you're going to do.
Yeah, I'm sure I did it.
Yeah, right.
Well, no, all you did was think about it.
Yeah, right. But I mean, this is a 3-step process. It's the thinking about it, it's the pointing out, it's the saying it, and that all reinforces what you're doing. I mean, in a very high risk factor, environment like rail. I mean, obviously there's a lot going on that could potentially be a risk. I mean, there's very few accidents, but there could be if it's not a very secure.
And by the way, the MTA is starting, or has been doing this actually, and they picked it up. They picked it up from this. Good stuff. I don't know. For us, it seems silly, but when you look at the results, it's kind of okay.
It's amazing. It'll eventually be a multi-billion-dollar consulting industry here in the U.S. of training
how to point,
training people to point. Hey, you know what?
Money to be made.
There you go.
Yeah.